Survival Sunday. We are here with, of course, Rainisha and our guest detective, Laurent Swanson. So, guys, we got an awesome show in store for you. So we're just gonna get right into the thick of things. Laurent, thank you for being here today. How are you?
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you guys.
Oh man, no, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. A lot of times we have survivors on. A lot of times we're able to get the perspective of a survivor. You know what I mean? But it is such an amazing blessing to have you here to get the perspective of law enforcement, an actual
Yeah.
detective who deals with domestic violence on a daily basis. So thank you for that.
Uh, yeah.
We're gonna jump right into the thick of things. What is it like being a domestic violence detective?
It is very rewarding. I think um, survivors um, need a support system,
Right.
and the resources that you and whole life offers is awesome. But we're also able to offer resources from the law enforcement side, and it's not just protection, but it's uh, a bevy of things that we offer. So it's very rewarding to see those victims or those survivors get out of that bad situation, and I'm on the front line of that. You know what I mean? So it's very rewarding.
That's good. That's good. So, um, for us, we want to know as a detective, what are some red flags that we should look for, when we are in these relationships? What are some red flags for narcissistic behavior or for domestic violence cues, things along those lines?
Yeah, I think a couple of things, and I'm sure you guys have spoken about them, but the controlling, the want to know where you are all the time, um, the you have to go through them or that person for everything, um, and for me, it's to me, it's how that person treats his mother or her mother. Um,
Okay.
I think that's big. Um, and the other thing we see often is the victim feels like they deserve to be hit or they deserve to be abused,
Mm-hmm.
and for something they may have done or didn't do. So
Certain.
so they so they a lot of times take on that role as it's their fault, and they take blame for it. Um, so I mean, a red flag, like I said, is controlling physically. I mean, I've been married almost 15 years. My wife and I have had some conversation or some disputes, but it's never been, well, I'm about to jump on you, right? So you can
Right.
have this debate, you can disagree, but it doesn't have to be, never has to be physical. So when you see those
Exactly.
signs, right? When you see those signs, um, yelling, screaming, threatening that I'm going to hit you, those are red flags.
Okay, now when you see those signs, we say, "Hey, get out." That's the thing that we say. Why not just
Yeah,
leave? But we all know it's not that simple in some cases. In a lot of cases, they rely heavily on their abuser, whether it's for financial support, emotional support. What are some ways that people can prepare, or victims or survivors can prepare to make that exit plan? How important is it to have an exit plan?
well, I think it's important because you know when you're in that situation that you got to get out. Okay, you have to get out, and having a plan to get out is important because there's so many dynamics. You may have children involved. You may have, you got to work. There's so many other things involved with it. But I think it's important that your plan involves someone you can trust, right? Because it's really hard
Right.
to get out by yourself, right? You have to have somebody in your corner that you can trust with your deep dark secrets, because when you're getting out, you need to go to that person, and that person is the only person that needs to know where you're going. So I think the other part is um, knowing that there are going to be so many things that you didn't think about in that plan of getting out. Right? There are going to be so many obstacles that you are going to face, and you may have not planned for those things. Um, and the third thing is understanding that you're getting out isn't your fault. It is your escape. Right?
Mhm.
It's not. It's not. It's not your fault. Oh, I gotta leave. I'm leaving because I have to, because I want to escape where I am. And the fourth thing is you have got to get law enforcement involved. Right? This can't
Yes.
be a get out and not involve law enforcement. Law enforcement has got to be on the radar. You've got to go through the process of getting whatever you need, the protective orders in place, because more often than not, the that person that's victimizing you or that's abusing you it's not going to stop. Right? It never stops, and it never
Mhm.
gets
Yeah.
easier. So I always say involve law enforcement. We have got to be a part of your escape plan.
Right, right. So as you were talking, Rainisha, do you have any questions? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just jump up talking.
No, and it's also, we need to know that this domestic violence don't only affect women.
Yeah.
And so
Exactly.
so a lot of times, men are going through it and they're scared to reach out, also because they feel like, because they're a man, that can't happen to them. But I know a lot of men that is going through that situation also. So what would you say to a man that is going through this situation?
Oh, that's good.
It's
Yeah.
it's funny you asked that question, because I was looking up some stats yesterday in Texas, in Dallas County. 34% of our domestic violence cases were against women, and 36 were against men. 36%.
Mm.
Mm.
Right, so those are high. And just like you said, men don't want to come forth. Right? They're too strong. The ego's too big. Um, and when you think of domestic violence, you always think as the woman as the victim. But I would tell men that uh, the same thing I would tell a woman, because a victim is a victim. You have
Right.
got to find a way to get out of that situation, and involving law enforcement is the way to go. Finding a friend, finding a support system that can help you get out of that situation, because I've never heard someone say, and it may be out there, but I've never heard someone say, I stayed in an abusive relationship and it got better. I just never heard
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
in fact, I heard the exact opposite. It gets worse. The abuse becomes more intense, more on a regular basis. So, I would tell the man the same thing. You have got to get out of there. You have got to find law enforcement, and he or she is not going to stop abusing. It just doesn't happen like that.
Right.
Right.
And you know what? I'm so excited that you're here because I've always wanted the perspective from law enforcement on so many different questions that I have.
Hmm.
One, we talk about the surge in domestic violence due to COVID-19.
Hmm.
Are you seeing that in your department, in your city, in your state? Are you dealing with more or heightened domestic violence cases?
Yeah. Last year, um, we filed, and I wasn't even in the unit yet, but we filed over 60,000 cases.
What?
Oh my.
60,000 cases. That is a lot of domestic violence cases. Um, so there has been a spike, uptick in it, especially since COVID. People at home with each other more, no opportunity to get out, and we saw that. We saw the rise in family violence assaults increased during COVID. Our new chief is he's a advocate for family violence and domestic violence victims. He just added 5 more detectives, and he wants us to be able not just to sit behind the desk, but to go to the victims, to the survivors, and make sure they're fine, make sure they're doing okay. Because I can say anything over the phone, but if I can see you and and touch you and physically lay my eyes on you, then I know you're doing well. So our unit is, after this next hire we have, we're going to be 32 strong, and I think it's going to be a benefit to the citizens and the residents where we are.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Man, that's a lot of cases. So we have to think about housing. We have to think about shelter. We have to think about transitional assistance. We have to think about mental health. There's so many
Yes.
things to think about as it relates to domestic violence. What we're running across here in the state of Georgia is that there is not enough assistance. There is not enough
Right.
shelters. The shelters are full. And once the shelters
Yeah.
get full, domestic violence shelters, because there is a difference between regular shelters and domestic violence shelters. So once the domestic
Mm-hmm.
violence shelters get full, now they have to go into regular shelters. And if there's not enough room there, sometimes they're on the street, sometimes they're in hotels. So that is why Whole Life Healing Center is here. That's why we're here trying to assist with security deposits and assist with, physical fitness and group sessions. Um, would you say that there is a lot of domestic violence survivors dealing with homelessness in your area?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, we do have some housing options for them, um, and a lot of our some of our victims do use those resources, but I don't know if they're the best. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're the best.
Yes.
And I think people only use those. Well, the survivors only use those as transition homes, right? Just to get out of the situation and get to something more stable. But absolutely, the resources aren't what it should be, and they know that comes from funding, right? That comes from the state legislators and
Right.
people putting funding, offering funding to that population. But I do still think that um, although it's tough, it's doable, right?
Right.
I
Right.
know
Right.
although it's not the most pleasant situation, and we're not trying to make light on that, but it's still something that you can like really persevere and push through. Um, but we definitely have to do better. Like we partnered with the Genesis House. Um, I forget the other. There's 2 more houses that we partnered with, um, and they really offer those that the living and the other thing that we run into is it's usually not just the victim itself; it's victim's children, right? It's other
Right.
Yeah.
That's
people
big.
involved
Yes.
with it. So you're not just putting one person, a housing. You're getting 4, 5, 6 people. So that's
Because
usually a hurdle.
truth be told, when I went into the shelter myself, it was um me and 5 children.
Yeah,
And originally they were like, we don't know if we have enough space. We don't know if we
yeah,
have enough space. So what I want people to understand is that when we're reaching out and we're fundraising, you got to understand that there is a woman somewhere in one room
hmm
with 5 kids
Yes.
that needs
wow,
somewhere to go. there
hmm
there is one woman in one room with 5 kids that need somewhere to go. I just had to say that again so people can
wow,
understand why we had that 5K yesterday, why we're
yeah,
trying to get security deposit assistance out here. Because with transitional homes, we have to understand that there is a time limit. They can't live there
yeah,
forever. And when
Yes.
yeah,
someone is in the shelter, they're in there and they've typically ran from their previous life. They ran from their abuser, They ran from the job because that's where their abuser know there will be. Their children can no longer attend that school because guess what? The abuser know where the school is. So they have to uproot their life and start all over again. These services
Wow.
that we are providing is detrimental to the life and the transition of these survivors. We have to understand that.
Yeah.
Then I wanted
That's
to go
good.
back.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's
question
deep.
too.
I'm telling y'all.
We have a question too.
We do. We do. Let's see.
It say, what advice do you have for those who see domestic violence happening? Should we get involved?
Yeah. So we get this often, and I always say this: if you see something, say something. Um, so often, you're at the restaurant or you're at the football field or wherever, and you see two people getting involved in an altercation, man or woman, man, it doesn't matter. Um, I think it's our civic duty to intervene, especially if it's physical. Now you got to be careful, right? Because you got to be
Yeah.
safe in what you do. Um, and sometimes intervening may just be calling the police, right?
Right.
It's not always getting physically getting in there, right? But it's I'm on the phone with the police, and you're gonna be give the best description that you can of who the abuser is and who the victim is, and stay there if you can, if it's safe. But we can't continue to turn our eye away from it and act
Right.
like it's not happening, because I think that does a disservice to that victim. So,
Yes.
Right.
I mean, if it's safe, if I know me, I I'm not gonna walk past somebody getting their tail beat in. That's me. But
Right.
someone else may not feel comfortable doing that. But everybody can call the police, right? Everybody can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're right. I don't think that we should turn our head, but like you said earlier, be safe. I want to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
rest in peace to Allie Turner. You know what I mean? She lost her life there in Buffalo, New York. We did a march for her.
Uh
They
huh.
have a day for her. And a lot of times, family and friends get drawn into these domestic violence situations, and they end up victims. And that's
Yeah.
what happened to Allie. And so I want you guys to know, listen, if you know something is going on, call the police. Do the best you can
Yeah.
to intervene without causing yourself any harm.
Mm-hmm.
Because I spoke at a vigil about 3 days ago, 4 days ago, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the victims were family members and friends. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
intervene, but like the detective said, call the cops. Make sure the
Yeah.
cops is there.
Right.
We don't want you getting hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I did want to go back to TPOs because a lot of times I get a call and I get questions on, uh, as they call them, TPOs, EPOs, restraining orders. For the
Yeah.
first question relating to that, are they all different things or they're the same thing with different names? What is it?
So for us, a restraining order is for more like civil matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
A protective order or TPO or emergency protective order is more for the criminal side. Someone that has criminally they have assaulted you or offended you in a criminal manner, and you can apply for a restraining. I mean a protective order. I will say this, and it goes. Different counties have different rules. Dallas County, where I work, it's a little more. It's harder to get a protective order. Um, for us, and I'm not saying I agree with this, but our DA wants to see for an emergency protective order, there was some kind of serious bodily injury, right? He cut,
Mhm.
stabbed, something like that. And for a regular protective order, um, they want more than one occurrence of the violence, which is I don't really agree with, but that's usually the standard for getting a protective order. Um, So there are different. There's a difference between a protective order and restraining order. Like I said, restraining order is more for the civil side of things. A protective order is with someone, in all of our criminal cases, that's what we use protective orders for.
Oh, that's good. I needed to know that.
And,
Yeah.
And how effective are they? Because a lot of people, because of what you just said, a lot of people don't want to go out and get a protective order because they feel like it's just a piece of paper. It's
Yeah.
not going to help them in any type of way. So some people rather not go get it. So what? How effective are they?
Yeah. To me, my personal opinions, protective orders are extremely important and effective because it gives law enforcement the right to, at any moment, if this person is within 500 feet or has trying to contact you, we can go pick that person up, right? So I think it's extremely beneficial to the survivor or the victim to have that paperwork in hand. For Texas, if there's a um, if someone has a protective order against you, you can't, by law, can't have a handgun on you or a gun at all,
Oh, okay.
right? So I think that's important, right?
Right.
You can't go to the job. You can't be, I think, 500 feet within a job. There's so many different things that can work in your favor with that protective order. Um, I do understand there's some nuances with it, right? And there's some hesitation and reservation with it because people think it's just a paper, but it really gives law enforcement uh, an opportunity to go and seek after this person. Right? You call the police. He outside my door. They don't even know that we're coming, but we here we are, and now we can put him in jail for a violation of that protective order.
Yes, and not only that, the protective order also protects you in emergency situations. And I want to say, if
Mm,
you do have a protective or restraining order, make sure you keep it on you at all times. I
mm,
remember when I I almost got a super speeders ticket. I was speeding. I was driving. I thought I saw my abuser, and I started speeding. I mean, I had that pedal to the gas, okay? And
right.
so I ended up getting pulled over by a state trooper, and he was like, "Ma'am, you're speeding. This is super speeding," and da 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 da. So I explained to him my situation, and I showed him my restraining order. And so what ended up happening was the officer ended up following me home, making sure that I made it there safely, and I did not get that super speeders ticket. I couldn't afford it, y'all. But not
Right.
only that, it made me feel safe. It felt like that protective or restraining order. I want to use the right term. The restraining order
Mm,
actually really did help me out a lot. So
mm,
if you have one, keep it on you because you never know
yeah.
what type of situation you'll end up in.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really wanted to cover the TPO's restraining order type of thing. Guys, listen, we can.
And
I'm
I do
sorry,
want
go
to say
ahead.
this too, Maria. I do want to say this too about that. Like, it is really good to have it on you, but if you don't, law enforcement is able to get that information. All right. And we can still act upon it if you don't have that tangible piece of paper in your hand.
I have a,
We can still act upon it.
I have a
I think
question.
Rainy said she had a question. Yeah.
So when you go get a restraining order, do that restraining order cover the kids, or should you get a restraining order separately for the kids also?
Yeah. Yeah. So both applications, there's you can involve the children as well. So because we can apply for them as well. I can apply for them on behalf of a victim, right? Based on the information or the evidence that I see, I can apply for one. And part of on the restraining order and the protective order, there's an option to include the children, and you could definitely do that. Yes, that is 100%. And most times we do it. We just add the children.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. That's a good question because there's somebody out there who wanted to ask that question. So thank you,
Yeah.
Raylisha, for
Yeah.
real. So guys, we have thoroughly enjoyed having this conversation. We're about to shoot over to Lisa for our word of the day. Give us just a minute, okay? Lisa's gonna come on and encourage us. All right, Lisa.
Hello, guys. You guys can see and hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, today's word of the day, guys, it is actually a poem by author S. Othman Stoker, and this poem is called Whatever It Takes. I have an ambition to reach for the top. I've set my sights high to pursue it. Until I achieve it, my efforts won't stop. Whatever it takes, I will do it. I have no delusions success will be swift, or obstacles do not bestrew it. I have plenty of time, over hurdles I'll lift. Whatever it takes, I will do it. There may come a time when my climb will be slow. I'll have to regroup and renew it. I'll learn from mistakes and employ all I know. Whatever it takes, I will do it. There is no restriction on what I'll achieve. Glass ceiling or not, I'll break through it. For nothing can sway me because I believe. Whatever it takes, I will do it. There is one exception that I will not break. I won't use deceit to get to it. What good is success if our souls we forsake? If that's what it takes, I won't do it. In fact, if you want, I can take you along. Our efforts combined, planned into it. For working together will be twice as strong. We know what it takes. We can do it. I absolutely love that poem.
Yes.
That poem is absolutely encouraging to me,
Hmm.
and I hope it encouraged you guys as well. Again, my name is Lisa, and that was your word of the day.
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
That was a
You're
good
That was
one.
an
welcome.
amazing word.
I
Whatever
enjoyed
it
it.
takes.
So, Laurent, I just wanted to bring you back on to thank you for taking time out of this Sunday. I know it's the game on somewhere, okay? So, thank you for taking time out of your Sunday to come on and share with us the law enforcement perspective.
Yeah.
Just want to tell everybody that if you have any questions, please send us the messages and we will get them over to him for answers, okay?
Thank you for having us, for having me. I am super proud of you. We go way back, and
Yes.
I'm proud of what you're doing.
Thank you.
Someone is being helped by your ministry, and God is pleased,
Absolutely.
is well pleased.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you so much, y'all. Don't go anywhere. We're just going to wrap this show up really quick. We want to give you guys some updates. Thank you so much, Laurent.
Yes.
That'll
Thank
be
you.
good.
You too.
Bye bye.
Guys, that was an amazing show. I really enjoyed speaking with him.
Yes, it
I
was
feel
good.
like we got some good stuff out there.
Yeah, it was.
Absolutely. There was definitely some jewels drops. People were asking amazing questions, and I got a lot of good information myself. So, success. Two thumbs up.
Right.
Yes.
I did not know that there was a difference between protective and restraining orders.
Right. I
Right.
definitely learned that today.
Yeah. And as we've been talking about this, like having a support system is so vital.
Yes.
You
It
have to
is.
get that support, and you are not alone. You are not alone. Use your
Hmm.
resources. They're out
Yes.
here.
Yes. Please use them. Please
Mm.
use them.
Cause
And my
whole life
thing is
healing is
this.
doing it. Okay.
Period. The thing is this, y'all. Listen, don't think that the only resource you have is your family. Do not be ashamed. Do not be afraid to go and get you a therapist. Listen, it's whack not to check on your mental health. I'm just going to say it like that. If you
Yes.
feel that you're not yourself, go and get you some help.
Yes.
It's
Please.
whack not to check on your mental health. I'm sorry. You
Please.
got this. You can do it.
You
And
definitely
also,
can.
y'all, listen, we need y'all to support us. Support us. We are trying to raise the funds to be able to assist men, women, and children that are transitioning out of domestic violence shelters. You guys, listen, we have access to over 400 homes throughout Georgia. 400 homes, right? That's amazing. But
Yes.
what will be even more helpful would be for us to be able to work together to help them with their security deposit. I mean, come on. We don't want them sitting in the shelters longer than they have to. They've already been through a traumatic situation. From one survivor to another, it will bless me to be able to bless them. It will bless you to be able to bless them. So know that if you want to make your existence matter, stand up for something. Even if it's not Whole Life Healing Center, we do want it to be Whole Life Healing Center. But even if it's not, join a cause, help somebody else, be kind to
The
somebody
survivor will
else.
still benefit, regardless of what organization they're going through. They will still
Exactly.
benefit from the help and the resources.
And that's the thing.
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily just have to be one specific program. Leave your thumbprint on this world by doing something else kind for somebody else. Did y'all have anything to say? Because we about to wrap it up.
I would just to just to piggyback off of that is we need y'all support. It's not easy out here trying to do this alone, and
Right.
this community, let's be the change we want to see. We can talk all day about how this is not happening, how people don't have this going on, but you have to get up, you have to do it. We can't do it by ourselves.
That's the
So
truth.
join these organizations, walk and talk it out, Whole Life Healing,
Yes.
Gas, and let's get this we could do it. We have kids out here that need these programs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
And we
let's
can't wait
get
for
it.
other people to get us started. Let's do it ourselves.
Like we can, because we could talk about it all day. Like it ain't no programs out here for the kids. It ain't this. Well, get up and start the program.
Exactly.
Get up
No,
and
I like
donate to
that.
the people that's trying to get these programs started. Walk and talk it out, Whole Life Healing. I mean, it's other organizations out here. Like you said, it don't just have to be these. But just get up and, like you said, leave your mark. Don't complain
Yes.
about it if you're not being a part of the solution.
Exactly.
And can I just say one thing before we go? And we really about to go. I know I said it 3 times, but for real this time. For real. Okay? But before we go, I want to tell y'all how dope Walk and Talk It Out is. Y'all listen.
Yes.
The CEO is right here with us on Survival Sunday every Sunday. She is fighting against anxiety and depression. She getting people up. She's getting them moving. First of all, let's talk about it. When you walk and you exercising, right?
Yes.
So that's losing weight. That's getting healthy. That's getting fit physically. But then when you talk it out, when you have a group of people to talk it out with, you that means you're getting physically fit and mentally and emotionally fit, sometimes even spiritually.
Spiritually, okay?
I'm just saying, walk and talk that thing out. Y'all, I'm getting excited here. Y'all know I get excited.
It's a whole movement. I'm for real. It's a whole movement. I'm telling y'all. It's so many things to come, and I just want y'all support. We having our first fundraiser November 6th. We having a sip and paint, and I want y'all to come out. Whoever, it's for everybody. I'm telling you.
Yes, and anxiety and depression is not something that is just for a specific race, a specific gender, a specific economic status. It affects a lot of people in a lot of different races and in places. How about that? You know, you have lawyers and doctors that deal with anxiety and depression. You have teachers and preachers, even, you know what I mean? You even have HR directors. You know, it's high pressure right now. It's COVID-19. People are thinking about ending their lives out here in these streets. We need programs like Walk and Talk It Out. Support her, y'all.
Yes.
Support her.
Support.
And peace. How you doing, Lisa?
Doing good.
No, how you doing? Do the peace for me, because we out.
Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Peace.
Y'all be blessed now. Thank you for tuning in.
We love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.